Most people meet me as an OBGYN, but that's not where this story starts. I was born into chaos, raised by a grandmother in post-war Korea, shaped by poverty, violence, discipline, and survival. The military made me a man. Medicine made me useful. Women made me a witness. For over 35 years, I've stood at the edge of life, watching fear, power, systems, and miracles collide. This isn't a podcast about pregnancy. It's about truth and how systems fail people, about how fear gets dressed up as policy, and about what happens when you stop obeying and start thinking. This is Chun Unfiltered. If you're looking for comfort, this may not be your place. If you're looking for clarity, sit down. All right, let me tell you why I'm qualified to say what I said last episode. Not because I'm loud, not because I have opinions, and not because I'm angry, but because I've lived inside this profession at its best and at its worst. I enrolled at the Ohio State University College of Medicine in 1985. And here's something I don't say often. I struggled. I had been rejected by top 10 medical schools, and honestly, I thought I was better than Ohio State. I was arrogant. For the first time in my life, my academic effort failed. I was depressed, lost, and I quietly took more than a year off before starting my third year when clinical rotations began. I showed up physically, but I wasn't present. My first rotation was general surgery, and the chair of surgery, Dr. Olga Jonasson, she saw right through me. She told me flat out that I looked disinterested, that I wasn't worthy of medicine. She told me that I should leave. That moment could have broken me. Instead, it woke me up. For the first time, I understood that medicine wasn't owed to me. It had to be earned. So I applied myself fully for the first time. I showed up early. I stayed late. I listened. I worked. Then came obstetrics and gynecology. And I didn't just like it. I fell in love. Not because of one dramatic delivery, but because of the combination, the hands, the judgment, the urgency, the humanity, the stakes. During my first month of internship at Boston City Hospital, I assisted in a cesarean section on a woman with a severe preeclampsia. She was 29 weeks pregnant. The surgery itself went fine. About an hour later, I went to check on her post-op. She was unresponsive, so I called the code. Within minutes, the room filled with people, everyone doing everything they knew how to do, and she still died. All I could do was stand there and watch as a dumb intern. I was devastated. I honestly thought I had picked the wrong profession. I wanted to go home. I wanted to go back to Ohio and get my old job back as a waiter in a Chinese restaurant. I thought maybe I was too transparent for medicine. A tough nurse had been watching me. She walked up and said, "Get your ass back to labor and delivery. We are way too busy to drown in our own sorrow." So I did. Almost a year later, I was pushing a patient on a gurney from the emergency room to the operating room. She had an umbilical cord prolapse. This was a true emergency. And the orderly, this muscular, bald-headed guy, he was so strong and moving so fast I could barely hang on the gurney. We went from the basement to the 6th floor surgical theater. an old-style operating room where, in a circular amphitheater, people watched surgery. The attending on call, a young, confident, female OBGYN, now chair at an Ivy League medical school, looked at me and said, "Are you ready, Chun?" I stared at her and said, I'm just a second-year resident. The chief resident was holding the lifeline, the umbilical cord, between her fingers on the gurney. The attending looked at me and said, "You got this. Just cut where I tell you to cut." And I did. Within a minute, I heard the baby cry. And in that moment, I knew I had picked the right profession. And maybe, just maybe, I had what it took to save lives. I've had many more life-threatening cases since then. Maternal death, stillbirth. Whenever I'm in one of those moments, I think back to that operating room, that historic surgical theater, and my first stat emergency cesarean section. I know what it takes. I know what medicine can do. And I know what it cannot. I know what is within my control and what is not. And at every crossroads, I can say this honestly. I did my best. And I want to say one more thing, because this matters. I'm not anti-technology. I'm not anti-surgery. I was trained to perform hysterectomies through the abdomen, through the vagina, and later through laparoscopy when it was still new. And today, I use advanced robotic systems to perform complex gynecologic surgery through small incisions with fewer complications. I've lived through the entire evolution of modern gynecologic surgery. That matters because it means I know when technology helps and when it gets in the way. Obstetrics is different. Obstetrics is about respecting physiology, respecting Mother Nature, and knowing when not to intervene. Very few doctors have trained across that entire arc. That's the perspective I bring. And that's why I'm careful. That's why I speak. Not from theory, not from trends, but from lived experience, in moments where life and death were real. I don't promise answers. I promise honesty. What you heard today isn't theory, it's lived, carried by thousands of women who trusted me at their most vulnerable. If this made you uncomfortable, good. Growth usually is. Until next time, stay awake. This is Chun Unfiltered.